Hello fellow humans, hope you're doing well. A couple of weeks back I did a solo transcription of a jazz song. The song was called The Unifier. It was by a guy called Joey DeFrancesco. Today what I thought we could do is we could have a little look at one of the licks, we could break it down, and I could teach you a little bit about the theory, because in my opinion this lick showcases the absolute beauty of the bebop language. So yeah, let's get started, shall we? Okay, so here's what the full phrase sounds like. Cool, and here's what it sounds like slowed down. Excellent. Alright, so first thing we've got to do is establish our key center. So we're in D flat, but we're not in our normal D flat major. We're going to flatten our 7th note, so our C becomes a C flat, so it sounds like this, which is a mixed Lydian mode. Cool. Next thing we've got to do is identify the chord progression. So there's 3 chords in the whole song, and it just keeps going around the same 3 chords all the way. So it sounds like this. So D flat 7 first, and then E flat 7, and then A flat sus 4. With a dominant 7th at the top. So we've got our sus4 there. So the reason why that's in there is that makes it stay unfinished. So it wants to always pull us down to our D flat at the bottom. So yeah, it just basically means you can keep going around in the same 3 chords and it doesn't ever sound finished. Cool, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to break down the whole phrase into 3 little subsections. So the first phrase sounds like this. And the second phrase sounds like this. And the third phrase sounds like this. Okay, so first note is a C. And that's the 13th of E flat. Okay, so if we're playing an E flat chord, the 13th is a C natural. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to do an enclosure around B flat. So an enclosure is basically where you have some notes above and below and then the note itself. So you're playing notes around the notes you want to hit. So what we do is we go from the 13th and we go chromatically down to the sharp 11 and then back to the 13th and then hit the B flat at the end. Okay, and so we get to the sharp 11 and that's one of the notes that we want to hit more than the others, or accent more than the others, and that gives us a Lydian dominant type of sound, which sounds like this. Cool, excellent. Alright, so now we've got to B flat, and then all we're going to do is we're going to go normally through an E flat major scale, from B flat down to E flat. Okay, so B flat, A flat, G, F, E flat. And then we're going to do what we call a chromatic approach. So we want to hit this D flat at the end here, but if we do it a bit without the approach, then it doesn't come in on the right beat. So you add in a chromatic approach tone just before it, so that's the D natural before we get to the D flat, and that helps it bump onto the right beat. Okay, excellent. So the whole first phrase will sound like this. Cool, alright, so our second phrase starts on the D flat. So even though we don't play the note twice in the whole thing, the reason why I'm starting on the D flat is because it's the same note we finish on from the first phrase. So that's going to help us loads in linking the phrases when we come to put them all together. Okay, cool. So another important thing to do is to remember what note you finished with in your first phrase, because you should start with the exact same finger. So if you go like this, and you end with your third finger on the D flat, you want to start the next phrase on the exact same finger, the D flat, and that will help you massively in getting it a lot quicker. Cool, alright, so the next thing we've got to do is we've got to look at what we're playing here. So we start on D flat, which is the dominant 7th of E flat. So our second phrase is also staying on E flat, and what we're doing is we're going through all the extensions. So we're going 7, 9, 11, 13th. And you've noticed that I've gone down instead of up. So normally we would go 7, 9, 11, 13. But what we're doing is we're dropping the 9th, 11th and 13th an octave down. So it's going to sound like this. And that's just helping us in the general motion of going down. So even though we're sort of going up a couple notes at a time and then going down, the general motion that we're doing for these first two phrases is moving down constantly. Okay? Cool. So to finish that off, we want to hit on our B flat. But he's delaying it ever so slightly by doing what we call a chromatic enclosure. So similar to a normal enclosure, except with a chromatic enclosure, you're just playing the notes a semitone above and the semitone below the note you want to hit. Okay, so we're going 9th, 11th, 13th, and then chromatic enclosure, B natural, A natural, B flat, to hit the right notes at the top there. Cool? And then from there, we're going to do the same as the second half of the first phrase. So that's from here. We're going to do the exact same, just an octave below. Okay, hope that makes sense. So we've got 9th, 11th, 13th, B natural, A natural, B flat, A flat, G, F, E flat, D natural, D flat. Okay, so that whole second phrase sounds like this. Wonderful. Alright, so on our third phrase, we finally change our chord from E flat to A flat. Yeah? Cool. Okay, that's really interesting because the notes that we talk about, so the intervals, they're going to change when we change the chord we're talking about. Okay, so from E flat, we're basically doing an arpeggiation through extensions of flat 7, 9th, 11th, 13th. But what we're doing is we're adding a passing note through the root. So we're going to go flat 7, root, 9th, 11th, 13th. So it's very similar to what we've been doing before. It's just adding a slight little variation. Okay, cool. However, when we get to the C, we're not doing the 13th of E flat anymore because the chord changes on the C. So it becomes the 3rd of A flat, if that makes sense. So what would be the 13th in C? We now have the 3rd of A flat. So we've got A flat, B flat, C natural to get the 3rd. Okay? And that's one of the important things about jazz. When we're creating our language through soloing, we really want to think about connecting chord tones on certain beats. So it makes our lines run smoother. So a C in E flat is the 13th. But it's also the 3rd in A flat. Okay, and having that knowledge and understanding that as we're playing through the chord changes of any song, it can help us create nice melodic movement throughout the changes. Okay, cool, so we're on a C, which is the 3rd of A flat, and then we're going to move normally down from B flat to A flat, and then we're going to do a chromatic approach yet again on the major 7 to the dominant 7. So similar to what we did earlier, we're just in A flat now. To hit that G flat, okay? And then we're going to arpeggiate through extensions yet again, going 7, 9, 11, 13. Except the 7, 9, 11, 13 is in A flat, obviously, instead of E flat. So we've got 7, 9, 11, 13, and then we're going to go all the way up to the root of A flat, okay? And then finally, just to finish it off, we have what we call an enclosure, yet again, around A flat. So we're going to go root, flat 13, normal 13, 9, and root to finish it off. Okay, cool? So it sounds like this. So basically, once we get to there, our phrase is finished. Okay? But the reason why he's put this in there is just to really cement the fact that the phrase is finished, yeah? So it's like a musical version of "and they lived happily ever after," if you were talking about it from like a fairy tale point of view, yeah? So you've got... So that last little bit is just like the icing on the cake, let's say. Cool, and that's the whole thing. So I'll just play that third phrase one more time. And then the whole thing all together. If you want more from me, like this sort of stuff, please let me know. I'll be happy to do some more. I also do some online private lessons as well. If you're up for that, just send me a message and let me know and we'll sort something out, I'm sure. Other than that, take care. I'll see you next time. Have a lovely day and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.